All right, let's get started. Thanks for joining us today and welcome. During the next round about 30 minutes, we'll be sharing our data world journey with you. The data world journey of GRENKE, from an old data warehouse without any architecture at all, to a new one, to a modern one, and to a scalable one. I would like to start with a quote from our CEO, Sebastian Hirsch, the GRENKE CEO. He said, "Data is our company's most precise language." As you probably heard by now, it's definitely more precise than my English skills, but I really like this sentence because it sums up what we all feel in our day-to-day work. Data is the foundation for almost everything now, for making the right business decisions and for shaping the future of our company. Before we start, we thought it would be a good idea to give you some background on us. My name is Philip. I've been in finance for over 10 years now, and I started my career with a dual study program at a big insurance company where I worked in risk management. Then I switched to Landesbank Baden-Württemberg, where I first encountered data, bridging the gap between finance and the development of a new data warehouse. Since 2023, I've been with GRENKE, deeply involved in the data warehouse project we are discussing today. When I'm not working, I love traveling and capturing the world through my camera lens. On the right-hand side, you can see a picture of me standing in front of a crashed plane in Iceland. Out of the many pictures I did during my travels, I decided to use this one. Maybe it is because it reminds me of the data landscape at GRENKE when we first started. Maybe it's just because I like Iceland. You can decide for yourself. Luckily, I'm not alone here today, and I would like to hand over to my colleague, Manuel.
Yeah, thank you, Philip, and hello, everyone. My name is Manuel. I'm also working for GRENKE, but as a data warehouse developer for almost 5 years. So I'm there since 2019. And this was also the time when our data vault project started there. I'm the father of 2 kids, and currently I'm renovating a house, so I have no real hobbies at the moment, to be honest. And I'm always on the construction side when I have some free time. And on the picture you can see me in my future bathroom, actually. And now I will hand over to Tim from Scalefree.
Thanks, Manuel. Mike, can you hear me? Yes, perfect. Okay, so my name is Tim. I don't work at GRENKE, I work at Scalefree. I started there almost 4 years ago. Back then I was still studying applied mathematics here in Hamburg. I started as a working student. Then, of course, at some point I graduated. I became a consultant. Today I'm a senior consultant. And now, almost, I think it's exactly 2 years ago, I started joining the GRENKE team. So we're a team of 5 consultants right now. And we're supporting the journey that we're going to present today. If I'm not working, you can see me there as part of the Scalefree cycling team. I started cycling this year, and that's what I typically do in my free time. I said I work at Scalefree. Of course, you're at the Scalefree event, so Scalefree is not that unfamiliar, I guess. But I'm going to do a quick introduction. So we are a consulting company working in the business intelligence and data warehousing industry. And of course, we're specialized in data vault 2.0. If you listen to the past presentations, you heard that the conference also has an almost every presentation that we saw so far at data vault 2.0 focus, so at least it covered a bit. And since we started, we already supported more than 100 clients in data warehouse consulting, and we implemented data vault 2.0 for them. Besides consulting, we also do training, and in Europe, we're the one certified data vault 2.0 training company. And since we started, we already certified more than 3,000 participants. Scalefree was founded in 2016 here in Hanover, and right now we are around 80 employees. Some of them are here. If you talk to them, feel free, they are friendly, most of them. Of course, today's presentation is not about Scalefree, it's about GRENKE, and that's when I present Philip.
Yes. For the unlikely event that you haven't heard of us yet, we are a financial service provider for small and medium enterprises, and we focus on small-ticket business-to-business leasing. The GRENKE is active since 40 years, and we operate in 33 countries, where we are quite big. We are also listed in the stock market. Our team consists of around about 2,000 employees. They don't obviously work all in our data vault project. even though we could use some additional helping hands. And the GRENKE generates roughly 3 billion euros in revenue a year. So much for us at GRENKE. Back to you, Manuel.
Yeah, thank you guys for the introduction of our companies. Now I will show you our pre-data vault situation at GRENKE. Yeah, as I mentioned before, I'm the one who's been renting a house right now, so I will show you this beautiful masterpiece here. It represents our previous data warehouse as a building. It's kind of spacious, but with a lot of extensions. Lots of different people developed separate parts of it, and it's not an architectural masterpiece. So I think just a new coding and move in is not an option here. So you have to torn it down and build it up. And this is what we did with our data vault project. And this metaphor brings me to our 4 main issues we've had with our old data warehouse. So it was a historical grown data warehouse with the heavy use of Excel, with manual traditional development. We had lots of data silos inside, so there was a big amount of data inside, but the data was rarely combined. We had decentralized metadata as well. There was no real architecture. So for example, there was no border between the raw data and the presentation layer. And it was everything mixed up in the DBO schema. You all know it, guys, I think. And yeah, we had lots of technical limitations, mainly because of the legacy technology we used. So we had performance issues, and yeah, data lineage or something was also not available there. And yeah, this internal pain points brings me to another factors. Why does GRENKE needs a new data strategy? So today I think it's important not to only copy paste the data from one point to another, but you want to generate data insights to have, for example, a 360-degree view on your data, on your different business lines, for example. Another point is the increasing complexity. We can feel this in our day-to-day life, but also in the data area, of course. So if, for example, the amount of data is increasing, different data sources, higher refresh rates, and yeah, I think this complexity can only be handled by a special pattern, a special framework, and automation. And yeah, you can use the data as well as a competitive advantage. If you think, for example, of predictive analytics, you can faster than your competitor when, for example, the market change or something, or especially in the finance sector, I think risk prevention is also really important. And with a good database behind, you can be very successful. And GRENKE also want to have more customer focus. We want to be customer's best choice. We want to have more customer loyalty. For that, you need information about the customer, and this information is, of course, inside of the data. So it was clear we need a new strategy, and our vision of our new data warehouse was born. As usual, you start something new with a kickoff. And then we assessed our requirements. Is, for example, always the current state of the data just fine, or do we need lots of historization or something? We asked our stakeholder for feedback, and they also said to us, okay, we don't want to have these data silos anymore. We want understandable, reliable data. And then we made a technical inventory. So we take a look on our different interfaces, on our different data sources, what do we have on hand. And yeah, now our goal was clear. Okay, we want a modern scalable architecture, we want central metadata management, we want support strategic and also operational reporting, and we want efficient decision making. And at that point we thought, okay, it would be a good idea to use Data Vault to meet these goals. And yeah, this was a time when Scalefree got on board to support us. And now Tim from Scalefree will tell you something about Data Vault, especially in the finance sector.
Okay, so Manuel showed us why GRENKE started the data vault journey. And luckily for Scalefree, GRENKE was already convinced that they need data vault, so we didn't have to do any convincing work yet. That's the best case. If you would ask, or you may ask now, why did they choose data vault 2.0? They could have done multiple different things, of course. And if I would ask 10 different people in the room here, why would you choose data vault 2.0? You typically get 10 different answers, which is fine. But I guess that in all of them, you might find one of those 6 buzzwords, because that's what you always hear when people talk about the data vault advantages. And all of them are valid, of course, but it really depends on in which industry your organization works in. And as Philip showed us in the beginning, the GRENKE is working in the finance industry. And in the finance industry, there's number one requirement to your whole data warehouse, but basically to everything that you do as a company. And that's definitely auditability, which you can see here as well. So you have several international financial regulations, for example. You might get some new ones. There are typically some new ones every year. And you always have to deliver a report, for example. And you have to prove, why does my report look like this today? How did it look like 2 weeks ago? Why did it look different then? And I can't do that without historization. If I don't have a historized data warehouse, it's impossible to know how my data looked like 2 weeks ago. And both of these things come naturally with a good data vault implementation. That's one of the key factors why GRENKE chose data vault 2.0 and why you might want to choose data vault 2.0 if you're working in the financial industry. Another big thing is here, Philip showed the quote in the beginning from the CEO of GRENKE: "Data is our company's most precise language." I don't really know when it was quoted, but I think 2 or 3 years ago. And since then, data just became more and more important. And therefore, the team around data, it grew. When I started joining the team, we were smaller than we are right now. And I guess when you started, Manuel, it was even more smaller, right? Yeah. You alone, I guess, no. And therefore, to handle those changes in a growing team and in changing requirements, of course, your data warehouse and the methodology that you use in the data warehouse also needs to be scalable and be able to deal with these changes. And if you saw a data vault implementation already, it's very easy to scale up and to do bigger and bigger and to scale free. And of course, that helps us in supporting this agile way that we work in right now. So we work in an agile 4-week sprints. And we have more and more members coming in, and they can all work in parallel because data vault just saves us here in doing this with this big team. Of course, the other points are always also important for GRENKE, but I wanted to focus here on why it's especially important in the finance industry. So, if you ever saw data vault, maybe in theory, you know that it consists typically of a couple of layers, but no CEO of a company goes maybe to Scalefree and says, hey, I want data vault. That's typically not the case. They want faster business delivery, something like that. They don't want data vault. They don't even care what's happening in the background. So the goal of the data warehouse is always to meet the business requirements. And data vault is just a part of it, or data vault helps you meeting the business requirements. But it's not everything. So if you look at a data vault basic, very rough architecture, you always have a raw data vault in the foundation. The goal here is to capture the source data as it is, so as few transformations as possible, and keep the source granularity. Then you have a business data vault on top. You might do some slight transformations here, maybe a currency conversion, but it's still driven by the business requirements. But this already brings the source data in the direction of meeting the business requirements. And then, in the end, you have information maps, or you have information delivery. At GRENKE, we chose information maps to meet the business requirements, but this area is completely designed to meet the business requirements. And maybe you have a dashboard first, or a dashboard draft, and based on that draft, you create your information maps. And then, at some point, okay, we did it like this for a couple of years. And then we thought, okay, we have so many demands coming in, our data warehouse became more and more popular, so we decided, why don't we enable our business users to build the information maps themselves? Because in the past, it was they drafted a dashboard, they maybe even drafted the information map, but then they came to the development team of our team, and then we implemented that. And typically you had to run through a lot of cycles, going back and forth, asking if this is the right way to do it, and that's inefficient, right? So we said, okay, we want to enable them building the information maps themselves. And now think of your organization. If you would give them a raw data vault and a business data vault and you say them, hey, please build your information maps yourself, I guess that won't work. In our case, it wouldn't work. I guess in many cases around here it wouldn't work too well because they are not teach the data vault. The data vault entities are plenty and it's a very technical area to work in. So we saw the gap that you just saw here and we wanted to fill it. And that's why we implemented a business data model. So you see the abbreviation here, BDM. You're going to see it in the next slides as well. And that basically helped us enabling the business people to build the information maps. They now had I wouldn't call it a store, but they had a layer where they could see which data is available, and it was in the format that they can read. Okay, so if you think about this in more detail, let's say we have one new financial regulation coming in. Business users, they come to us and they say, we need a new dashboard. They might have a dashboard draft already. How we work as a team. And this is where the business data model is really beneficial for us. So let's say we have the situation and our development team can already start identifying which source tables do we need to build this dashboard or to feed into this dashboard. So they can, without having to know how does the business world look like, how does the business data model look like, how does the information must look like, they can build the raw data model. So it's a source-driven raw data modeling. And at the same time, the developers start, our data modelers can start drafting the business data model. So they start talking to the business users, they can come up with any data model in their modeling tool of choice, and basically they decide what do we need to fulfill the business requirement. As soon as that draft is ready, the developers can close the gap between the raw data model and the business data model. Maybe they create some business world entities, maybe not. Depends on the business data model. And in the end, of course, they can create a physical business data model. So it's existing in the database, it's filled with real data, and then the data modelers can start drafting information maps, creating the information maps, and the business users, of course, they work closely with the business users, and they get their dashboard or their cube or their report filled. So this is how the business data model helps us to parallelize the workload that you typically have, because both of these tasks, as I said, can start in parallel, independent from each other. Okay, so you heard a lot about the term BDM here, but you haven't really known anything about the BDM yet. That's what Phil is going to explain to you now.
Yes. Thanks, Tim, for teasing a little bit our business data model, and you can imagine it as some kind of a special semantic layer for our company. And now I will explain some key reasons why such a layer makes a lot of sense for us at GRENKE. So let's break it down. First, what was the need for it? Well, as you can imagine, many departments, many applications generate data. And the data differs in its complexity, it differs in its granularity. And with a unified data model, like our business data model, we ensure that everybody's on the same page when it comes to understanding the numbers, when it comes to understanding the KPIs, when it comes to understanding the data in general. Another benefit is it ensures consistency and it ensures transparency. This is especially important for our management and for the regulatory reports, which are really important in the finance industry. So we could say that our business data model offers a framework, an easy to understand framework, hopefully, that simplifies the data access for many, many users. And last but not least, with a unified data model, data governance becomes a lot easier because it gives you better control over your data. It gives you integrity and it gives you accountability, which is also great for meeting the regulatory and compliance needs. So we create a single source of truth with our business data model with clear responsibility through data owners. So much for the theory, but how does it look like in practice? Well, first of all, we sit down with our business. We sit down and ask questions. We ask about relationships, we ask about attributes, and then we start generating an entity relationship model, as you probably all know. Usually it takes 1, 2, 3 rounds, and then most of the guys are satisfied with our models. This is the time when our colleagues, the developers, can start implementing the draft we designed. At the end, we divide our database into so-called data domains, like, what do we have here? Contract settlement, general, compliance, and so on. On a more technical level, these data domains are schemas. Each of the data domain has a data owner who is responsible for the content of his or her data domain. And within all of the data domains, there are entities you are probably all familiar with as well. To be part of our business data model, all the attributes, they need an approved description, and they need a privacy and a security classification. This is a requirement we have to be part of the business data model. It ensures that only classified data and real data which can be used for regulatory reports and for management decisions are inside. All right, our metadata is stored in a so-called data catalog. I guess you're all familiar with a data catalog as well. I think this one's Data Spot, but there are many providers. And within our data catalog, there's also the exact location of each attribute in the real database. So the power user of, for example, the refinance department who has access to our business data model, they can look it up. They can search for their attribute they are looking for and see the exact location inside the database. That's all for now for our business data model. If you have further questions on the topic, feel free to ask us at the end or meet the 3 of us at the Scalefree booth. All right, let's talk about some key challenges we are currently facing while implementing our data warehouse project. First and foremost, it's not just a technology project. It might seem like we're just simply building tech infrastructure, but in reality, it's equally about the people and about processes. We are constantly recognizing that getting the technology right is only one part or even one small part of the equation. Managing the change in the mindset is just as important. Second, as it is with any big project, communication is crucial. I'm sure you've heard it all before, but I will say it again. Talk, talk, talk. So we are continuously making sure that everybody from top management to the operational teams are on the same page. The next one is actually pretty close to the communication challenges. For us, it's vital that all stakeholders are aligned. Without their support, we wouldn't have the backing to keep a project like that moving forward. We have to pull into the same direction. Yes. On fourth, we are facing some data quality and data governance issues. And this is probably on us. This was our own mistake, because when we first started this project, we had no frameworks in place, nothing. And now we are building everything from scratch just now, and it's a major effort to do it while developing a new data warehouse. And finally, there's the complexity of integration. No surprise, I guess. We are dealing with multiple data sources from different systems. And managing the day-to-day operations of an existing warehouse while developing a new data warehouse is definitely a challenge. Luckily, our colleagues from Scalefree support us, and they are great, so we find it a little bit more manageable. But still, it's one we need to do as well. Now to the last slide, where Manuel will give you some key takeaways for your own data warehouse project.
Yeah, I will sum this now a little bit up. So finally, you may think, okay, cool, GRENKE, this was a nice, interesting data vault project. But what can I learn from you? What can I learn from your experience? So we think Data governance and data quality management are key success factors for the project. So you have to find people who take ownership of the data, who can support you with any questions about the data. And as Philip mentioned it, such a data governance framework should be in place, at least in a basic format from the beginning of the project, and this was kind of tricky at GRENKE side. Yeah, and the data quality management is important as well. So you have to implement technical or non-technical data quality checks to produce reliable data. And I think if you can reach that, then your internal or external customers will love to work with your data warehouse solutions. But the main or most valuable takeaway is the following. So for us, it was shocking that the main issues in the project weren't technically, and with Scalefree we had a good partner on our side to fix all this technical stuff. But the main issues in the project were due to the identity change and the fact that every individual has to find its new role in the team, or his or her new role in the team. Yeah, so you have to find internal and external experts of different age with different backgrounds, and to combine all these strengths together to bring your project to success. Yeah, and the last statement is pretty valid for GRENKE. For every euro we invest in technology, we have to invest 3 to 5 times more in culture and in people. Yeah. So this was it with our little glimpse of our data vault project. Thanks for your attention, and if you have some questions, please feel free to ask us.
Repeat the questions into the microphone if anybody has questions.
Who has a question? Martin.
Yes, you as a financial institution are under many regulations, probably also under the regulations that on the development and the test environment you cannot work with the real names, account, etc. How is it, what are the impacts into the data world, especially when you might change the business because of that?
So Martin asked, what or how do we handle change in the business keys in data world, which may occur because of any privacy regulations or whatever we have in the financial sector? Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we haven't had that case yet. In the first place, I would try to find a business key which doesn't look like it will be changed in the future, right? So I would not use an email, or I would use a username which is like prename dot last name, I don't know. And as soon as I have something that looks surrogate, not too much surrogate, of course, right? It needs to be a business key. As long as I have that, I would ask the counter question: why do you need to change the business key, right? So if it's just a identifier, there's no need to change it from my perspective. That's how I would handle it if it happens in the future.
I still got one. On additional information, sometimes it would be possible to use a hash key in this particular circumstances. It shouldn't be the case, especially not with our business data model. But if there's some privacy issues or security issues, I think it would be a valid option to at least use for test and for the development a hash key.
Any more questions? Yes.
What's the difference between a business data model and a dimensional model?
What's the difference between a business data model and a dimensional model?
Yes, I can answer this one. At least, where's the difference in our company? I think it depends. We use the dimensional model especially for reports and for cubes and for the presentation of the data to management or to departments. While the business data model tries to store all data in a layer, in a semantic layer, where the business departments can work with the data themselves. So they have an overview about the data in our company and they can play with it. They can do try and error and start creating reports. And in the end, maybe in somehow there's a use case where they will filter it into a dimensional model as you explained it. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes they just use a flat table and select the data they need for one information.
Okay, time is up for questions. If you have more questions, I'm going to be there the whole day, so you can come to the Scalefree booth. And I think Manuel and Philip are going to be around for the next 20 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.